Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the first official trailer for Gatwa's first season as the Doctor has released on both Doctor Who's YouTube channel and the Disney Plus YouTube channel. And of course, there are going to be distinctions between those two channels, mainly because Disney Plus is, of course, going to get more traffic than the Doctor Who YouTube channel because they're putting out other stuff regularly. There's regular trailers of things that we haven't seen before. The Doctor Who YouTube channel has always, unfortunately, not been able to do that because it focuses on one franchise. So comparing the viewership figures of Disney Plus's YouTube channel to the Doctor Who YouTube channel, as I've seen people do in the comments of my previous videos, is ridiculous. But we'll get into that in just a moment here. The biggest thing that I want to take away from these trailers isn't the viewership this time, isn't the schedule change, which I will briefly mention because I didn't get a chance to in the previous video because I wasn't aware of it when the previous Doctor Who video I made came out. The biggest thing is none of this looks like Doctor Who, none of it sounds like Doctor Who. Everything from going to a more supernatural element for this new season. We knew it was going more fairy tale than science fiction, as the New Who era has mostly been. Now it's going to a fantasy and a supernatural route, and that's just not Doctor Who. It's fine to have fantasy elements into it. Matt Smith's era was very fairy tale. That was the word often associated, at least with the early Matt Smith era, but those are subgenres. They're not taking it over entirely. There's an entire horror section of this episode with a monster that doesn't fit in Doctor Who. So just like Russell T Davies has said himself, just like Disney Plus is making very, very clear, this isn't Doctor Who. It is a full reboot. It is series one of a new show that is Doctor Who in name only, and they're not hiding it. So the people who are still in denial about that fact, I don't know what else could prove to you that this isn't supposed to be Doctor Who anymore. It's not meant to be Doctor Who. It is not Doctor Who. They're saying it. Every piece of footage that they put out, every poster they put out says it's not Doctor Who. When will you come to understand it? There's no point in really watching the trailer because the majority of the footage is from the Christmas special, which already came out, rather than the new season coming up. So there's only a few shots of new footage. The most important shot is this one where they have to kind of remind you, oh yeah, this is the same Doctor. It's totally the same person. That's all that was Doctor Who in this trailer, was a flash of young David Tennant from, I'd say, probably his second or third season, definitely not his first season in the role. They had to do that because none of the rest of this trailer looks, sounds, or feels like Doctor Who. So this is the main shot, trying to pull out the member berries, trying to convince the stands that are still watching it, the people who aren't paying attention, and the ones who are doggedly ignoring the fact that this is a full reboot of Doctor Who in all but name, that it's connected. It's trying to convince those people to stay holding on to this lie that they fabricated for you. Whereas everything else in the trailer says that they're lying about this shot. So if you see this shot and go, oh my god, it's still Doctor Who, I love it, it's still Doctor Who, there's really no hope for you, I'm afraid. You're welcome to have this show. The viewership figures are going to dwindle. I fully believe that. And it'll eventually get canceled because no one cares about not Doctor Who. So enjoy it while it lasts. I do want to briefly point out that, yes, of course, the viewership figures for this trailer are significantly higher than the other one because the previous one from last week was a release date trailer. So, of course, it's going to be lower, but it was still substantially lower than it should have been. And I still believe that these are lower than it should have been. In just 2 hours, it's only gotten 42,000 views. I don't think it's going to cross 1 million. Maybe it will. We'll check in. This is definitely a much better start to this trailer's viewership figures on the Doctor Who YouTube channel than the previous weeks. But that's partially because it's actually new footage more than anything else. So we'll see how this trailer does. Already a significant amount of dislikes. We'll see how all that plays out. The more interesting stuff comes in the Disney Plus YouTube's version of this trailer. It's very close to ratio. It's probably, I'd say, a quarter of the way left till it's ratioed. That's a lot for only 2 hours in. And yes, of course, it has 137,000 views because it's on a very different channel with a lot of different videos that they put out that encourages regular viewing to the degree that Doctor Who YouTube channel cannot sustain because it doesn't give out new stuff as regularly as the Doctor Who Disney Plus video. It's just two different channels. You can't compare the two. So in and of itself, I don't know Disney Plus's video counts, their view counts well enough to say if that's good or bad. And it would be skewed either way because of the type of channel that Disney Plus is. So I'm not going to super comment on that viewer count, but the dislike ratio is something to acknowledge here when we're only 3 hours in, I guess, after refreshing for this video. And we're already nearly ratioed. So an interesting thing there. And like I said, this isn't Doctor Who anymore. There's that whole bit about a supernatural monster. And that's just fundamentally not Doctor Who. And then this is the poster that they put out for the new season. What about this says Doctor Who? It doesn't feel or look like Doctor Who. Nothing about this says Doctor Who except the actual words Doctor Who. The style, the characters, they look like they're twerking. It's weird. It's awkward. It's just not Doctor Who. Now, before we go on to briefly mentioning the schedule change, the interesting thing that I wanted to point out is the trailer actually leaked several hours before it initially came out. There was an article that someone sent to me that had the video link in it for the trailer, and I saw it several hours before the initial release, and that's weird to me. They had it unlisted, yet people were able to find it on the Disney Plus YouTube channel. I don't know what's going on with that, but it is an interesting thing to note. I was not going to make a video on it before it initially came out for the public, because Doctor Who is definitely known for striking people when it comes to early released footage, so I wasn't going to risk that, but it is an interesting thing to note nonetheless. Lastly, I want to briefly mention the schedule change, which I wasn't aware of when I made my video last week. The fact that the American audience is going to get the Doctor Who episodes, the two-part opening of this new season, significantly earlier, at least in the day, obviously, than the British counterparts. America is getting it in prime time. They're getting it in great time slots that'll increase its viewerships substantially. But the UK is getting it at midnight, their time. This was supposed to be a British production. This is supposed to be a cornerstone of British pop culture. I love Doctor Who. I never want it to be Americanized, though. I never want to see it come here. We saw what happened when they almost did that, or did it to a certain extent, for the Doctor Who movie. It's just not fundamentally Doctor Who anymore. The British culture aspect of it is essential, and if you're not making it for your British audience anymore, that's fundamentally not Doctor Who. It is not what it's intended to be, and it's not going to be the worldwide phenomenon that we've known and loved for 60 years at this point. So this is just further evidence that Russell T Davies and the BBC sold out to Disney, that no one involved in this new season and this new era care about Doctor Who or the character of the Doctor in the least. They're going to do whatever they can to appease Disney. They're going to do whatever they can to bastardize it beyond recognition, reboot it, and see what they can get out of it. But this isn't Doctor Who anymore. It's not. It's fundamentally not. And I don't understand how anyone can continually defend the idea, the lie, that this is Doctor Who, because they're making it very clear it is not for British people anymore, which means it is not Doctor Who anymore. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.